couple of pages just to swap out of your binders. I don't honestly have too terribly much to go over as far as changes, but wanted to just talk about a couple things. Definitely stop me if you have questions, and then if you have questions about anything I don't mention, just let me know before we leave. So I did, for easy reference for you guys, I did highlight the changes. For some reason, the printer sometimes prints color for me and sometimes it doesn't, so they're gray highlights. But a couple things that I want to talk about, most of these are pretty minor. For example, under administration, you'll see that there's now a telephone line item. This has just been charged under Village Hall grounds previously instead of being actually charged for the administrator's cell phone. And this is something we talked about the last time, I believe briefly, is actually charging to the accurate account and tracking properly so that we have good historical information. So there's changes like that. Also, with that being said, as an administrator, I work in general, water, sewer, and all of these, so I'm splitting that cost up amongst all of the funds. So it's, even though it'll come out of a portion of general, it'll also, a portion of water and sewer will pay for that too. And then I've done similar things. So if you go down to DPW, you'll see their clothing line has changed. Right now, or in the past, we've been funding Public Works clothing 100% out of general. However, they also work for water and sewer. So what we've done is, and again, it's a majority general, but there are portions, if you go to the water and sewer tablet, they now have clothing so that we can charge and track that a little more accurately.
Danielle, is there really a need to break it down that far?
So
I understand salary, but clothing, it would, like, at some point there's a cost benefit to not do that.
What I think that we should talk about because we do this across so many funds, like the park funds, and I do agree with you. I think in the upcoming year, what we need to talk about is how we want to track all of this. Because I think we could consolidate parks, for example. I also think that for water and sewer, we have the ability to just say we're going to charge an administrative fee to go towards those things so that we're not spending all this time breaking all of these silly things down. Because this isn't the only thing that we do it with. We do put what we've been doing in the past is some things and not others. So we either should break it all down or we should decide in the future like how we're going to group things so that it's all the same across the board.
Okay. Just keep it on your radar list.
Yes, absolutely. Under the pool, one of the changes is that, and it's actually not in the upcoming budget, it's in last year's, but it does affect our projected fund balances, is that payment to make that at the last meeting you guys approved to move back out of the pool. So I wanted to let you guys know that that is incorporated. So it's updating that number. Again, I know it's already approved. On the plus side, I had a typo and had that we were spending $35,000 there. So it actually affected us not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So yay for my typo for once. Down on, trying to find what page it is here, sorry. Oh, it's actually up under Village Hall grounds. This is going to be coming to you guys, and again, this is more of this year's budget, but affects that fund balance and bottom line. General fund? Yes, in general fund. Okay. Under Village Hall grounds miscellaneous, there's a note and there's an increase here to add library transfer to year-end projections of $18,025.43. I'm going to try my very hardest to explain this.
Okay, hang on, Daniel, I can't find it. Can you guys find it?
It's under general, in the budget portion, it'll be the third page towards the top right, general. Third page. of the actual number part, third page.
Gotcha. Okay. And say it again to me, where are we?
It's the first line on top of the third page, it's the 2541, but the change is the 18,025 and 43 cents.
Gotcha.
Again, this is actually something I'm gonna be bringing on the 27th. You guys will have a year-end budget amendment, but I wanted to make sure to put it in here because it affects that fund balance and bottom line. A few years back, we had brought in a accountant to help us get our books organized, is my understanding. And they sat in the back here at Village Hall and went through everything. My understanding again is pretty thoroughly. They did a general ledger posting for this $18,025 that is actually owed to the library. Brandon and I have talked a lot about this. He did a ton of research, can't find exactly what it was related to, reached out to the accountant that was here to do the work. He's no longer here. They referred him to another lady that worked with him who left the company and is no longer here. And our current auditors had put in the audit report last year that the village needed to correct this within a year. So we actually had this budget year to correct it, and going back through everything, I can't find where we ever did that. So the library fund is essentially short this $18,000. Now it accurately tracks because of that journal entry that was done in general ledger, but the actual money itself was never paid to them appropriately. So this would be correcting that so that we don't have this weird amount that just continues to be out there longer and longer, becoming even less clear what it's for. So again, that'll be in year-end amendments, but I wanted to just talk about it because it affects everything moving forward. I know that's not the most clear explanation. I do wish I had more for you guys. It's just, unfortunately, it's been so long and so many people have changed that it's been a challenge to nail that down. Do you guys have questions about that or?
Does the library know what it's for?
Not that I'm aware of. They have, so Bob keeps very good records and uses, I think it's QuickBooks to keep track of everything. So he is showing like that that's his balance and that is an amount that he should have in his bank with that 18,000, but very specifically, no. But that is really the big changes in general fund, unless you guys have any questions. Overall, I think we're still projected to be within our 2 to 3 months fund balance. We're still moving forward some capital improvement projects. Again, still needs to be a big priority, looking into some grants and how we're gonna fund things moving forward, but.
Did we increase the cost of the attorney? Or did we keep it at the 7,000?
We kept that the same until we decided what to do with permanent legal counsel, and we have to look at it at
So
that time.
As far as what the budget is concerned, that has not been changed at this time.
Correct, yes. So the other changes, your streets funds, building inspection, recreation, all of those stay the same. Water had some very minor, again, same thing as before. The changes were related to telephone costs, clothing, things like that. And then sewer, you'll see the same thing, but the big change in sewer is just that employee that, again, we talked about at the last meeting, adding that other person in. I got wages in here, and then I also assumed that they would have a family so that the benefits would be on the high side. So regardless of who we hire, we should be covered there. And again, hopefully we can look at benefits overall, but do you guys have any questions on water or sewer?
No increase
In
the
the fees?
correct
Rates.
the rates, I should say.
Or the rates, yeah, so I'm still recommending nothing this year, and that we do the study with John in May to, not a new study, but just a relook at our current study and make sure with how things are looking now, if he has any changes or amendments. And then next year to do a small one so that we don't hit our citizens with a large one again. That is on the agenda for the 27th, and I know that some of you have had some hesitation and don't want to repeat history. So what I did in the agenda for next Monday is I have the fee schedule with the change recycling haulers license that we talked about, so that we can charge actual. And then I also put in a sheet for water and sewer rates if we were to do a 1% increase, so that you guys could see what that looks like. And on the 27th, you can make a decision on what you want to do with the fees, and you can approve the fee schedule either way or something different.
So so next week when we go through the budget, remind me. We go through it chunk by chunk by chunk, or we go through it as a budget overall?
So it's broke out a little bit, so you guys will approve the budget as it is kind of in this book here. Then you'll approve the wage scale separately, and then you'll approve the fee schedule separately. And the fee schedule is actually under unfinished business, so that'll be before the budget even.
Okay, so that discussion can take place prior to.
Yes.
That I understand. Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Yes. So then the next change that you guys had was tab 12, and this is the wage scale. Again, this will be approved on the 27th separate from the budget. I still have that same sheet that I had given you guys before. I added the position at the wastewater treatment plant there. And then I also added the first page, the wage scale. So this is one of the things I was looking at and I was kind of struggling with is if we hired somebody new, they would be paid different than our employees who have been here for years and years. So I put like a starting, this is our wage scale if a brand new employee came into every one of these positions. And then the next page is our wages for our current employees as they are today. Just to help, and then hopefully, we don't need that, but just so we could see the difference there, because for example, Brent has been here for 25 years, I think it is. So he would be paid differently than somebody who's coming in and starting fresh as the public works supervisor. And then I have to backtrack, I'm sorry. I forgot the garbage tab on page 10, last page. I added as a revenue the recycle haulers license, and it's not much because we currently only have one. The other thing that I had asked Brandon to do is create a line for us, and I'm not budgeting anything this year, but we recently approved that we would charge the 50 cents per 10 tags for garbage. And then this hauler's license, we had the discussion at the last meeting that it would be actual costs to help offset the cost of our employees. Well, those employees are paid not out of this fund. So what I would like to do, and not this year, is be able to take that money that's offsetting their wages and transfer it to general to cover that portion of their wages, which is what the intention of those fees were for, so that we're using them for what we said. But that's really the changes I have, and again, I'm open to questions.
Danielle, what did you end up doing with the festival trash pickup?
That is out. If you want it added, we can certainly do that.
No, I'm just looking at my notes from our first
Yes.
So I'm just checking that, okay, thank you.
I didn't, I know that it was discussed the last time, but I was not clear on the intent of the group as a whole, so that has remained the same. If you all feel that that should be added back in, I can certainly do that. It can also be in the motion if you so choose for the actual budget meeting, whichever is.
James, I said trash man. Festival trash.
I was for having it in the budget. It's a good opportunity for young Boy Scouts to earn some money.
I agree. We invest in the festival as well with the police overtime, that sort of stuff. DPW sets up for it. So I mean, it's not like we don't invest in that event anyways, but just be an additional cost to it. I think the benefit is worth it. I sure don't like sitting down there picking up garbage, but you know, like James said, we do these smaller things that try to get people involved, you know, the DDA and the kids throwing flowers, that sort of stuff. It's just sort of that incubator to get people involved. I don't, for $2,000 or $3,000, I think it's worth it.
Well, is there any specific reason they didn't want to sign the agreement? No,
My understanding with that was the timing being such a short turnaround when they were put on notice. So knowing that they should be doing that and having more time, I don't think timing should be an issue. If in fact that was the sole reason, which was my understanding.
Do you think you could talk with the gentleman that was, I know there's a team, I can't remember his name.
The president,
Yes,
Rick Allen.
thank you very much. Mr. Allen would be somebody maybe you would like to talk with prior to next week's meeting and just clarify. I mean, unless that's something that you guys would like, it's irrelevant. I mean, just put the $2,500 in.
I'm gonna ask Lisa, but correct me if I'm wrong, there was a communication problem between the festival and the Boy Scouts.
We had asked the Boy Scouts to sign the actual contract,
Yeah,
service contract, and they would not do that.
right.
I'm not exactly sure. I know that they were saying that it would be their responsibility or liability alone, even though the festival does have insurance.
Right.
So I agree, maybe some miscommunication, but they would not sign it. I talked to Mr. Allen myself multiple times, and they were not willing to do that. But then because of the time frame, the festival committee was going to try to work something out with them, and that I don't think ever came to fruition.
It was based on insurance needs and coverages. The Boy Scouts weren't willing to provide their own insurance coverage. And it was not between the festivals, between the village and the Boy Scouts that the timing and or miscommunication took place. I believe once we looked at it, Darwin did discover that our umbrella policy would have covered the Boy Scouts. So they don't have to take out a liability insurance policy to work the festival.
I do believe that's probably true with our coverage, because we do have some additional kind of things, and we have our general kind of, I don't know, fail safe or whatever you want to call it, coverage. But Rick Allen is with the Boy Scouts or the festival
Committee, he's the president.
Okay.
Is that something we can check on? And
I will look into that before next Monday, so that when we actually have the budget, I can give you that information and you guys can at that time vote if you want to add it or not in.
Well, along with Mr. Allen, perhaps we could talk with the person whom I don't know who it is the Boy Scout person, and see if this is something we truly are still interested in. Again, I only say that because I know that their numbers are low and they may feel that this is, you know what, we can't commit to this and we don't want to commit to this at this time. I'm just asking so that we can give them that opportunity as well. But I don't know who that person is. Does anybody know who the Boy
It's
Scout?
Barb's son-in-law,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Is it Howard's?
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
Howard.
he's, I didn't know if he was still in charge.
Changing his last name.
Howard's son-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah,
Butler.
But
yeah, thank you. Okay.
there you go.
Howard Butler.
I didn't realize Howard was the person in charge. I know he was a part of it. I didn't realize he was in
And if
charge.
they don't want to do it,
Perhaps. you
that
have
gives us
other-
enough time to find another group that may want to.
When you could open it up in general, like every
Exactly.
year, you know, maybe you do a different nonprofit every year that can.
Kiwanis,
come
they
in.
want it, Knights of Columbus, something like that. Take their opportunities.
Okay, I will reach out to them and have that for next Monday.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah. 10, 12, obviously, we're gonna talk about doing a study, you know, work with other communities on rate.
Yes,
Wage.
so that is on my to-do list. Kevin Cornish with Clinton, he's doing his annual one right now. I have submitted Blissfield's information to him, and once he has that compiled, he'll send that. I even actually reached out to Michigan Municipal League, does a whole statewide salary study, and we are members, so we could participate in that. We've not in the past chose to, so because we've not participated, I can't access that information, but I think that's something that for no more than what we already pay for our membership, we could participate and get some information as well.
Absolutely.
But I agree with you, that needs to be something that we look at as a whole.
Definitely, I think, you know, we have to be competitive, and I'm not sure that we're there, and I know it, you know, budget limits what we can pay our staff, but we have good staff. And again, we need to be competitive as we replace staff and whatnot, and, you know, keep staff sustainable, so. I'm really looking forward to that study.
Yeah,
The pool manager, to only make $1 more than a lifeguard, obviously, we struggled this year with manager issues, I think. To get somebody that's gonna be in there that's really takes it serious and is gonna be 100% about it, I think. Again, the pool costs us a lot of money, and I hate that, but I think we need to pay a manager a little bit more.
yeah, and that is a valid point, because we will be talking about that next month. Oh, but struggled at the pool with staffing. And again, this will be a separate item from the budget, so, I mean, you guys, we can make some changes. With the pool, we had budgeted $50,000 for part-time help this current fiscal year. Next year, we have proposed 45,000, so not a huge decrease. We were under budget on that, so I mean, we do, I think, have a little bit of wiggle room. I did leave it the same because on the flip side of that, I also think we were generally understaffed. So that's where I was struggling with that, because we have to balance, do we pay more at the reduced staff that we had, or do we try to not be so understaffed as well? And that's something, again, we're definitely gonna have a big conversation at our October committee of the whole meeting around the aquatic center in general, so. We can always, if need be, at that point, change or amend something as well.
I guess like them, not to change it too far, but the pool roof itself. I don't wanna pay for that twice.
Yes, I actually, again, today spoke with Phil about this, who has, has taken obviously the lead, being our legal representation on this. He is still trying to make contact with Midwest Attorney, and we'll be bringing some more information to you guys. So right now, we've not paid Midwest their retainage. That you guys would have to approve that if we ever get to that point. But I think we need to finalize that conversation before we move forward. Definitely not falling off the radar on my to-do list. It needs to be addressed, but I just want to make sure what I don't wanna do, like you said, is we have somebody come in and do the roof and then we try to work with Midwest. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse, so.
Do we also have any other questions? Tim, you got it down?
Still learning. No questions at this point.
You never stop. I learn something every week, so.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you know where to find me. I'm pretty much always here.
I know.
I'll just say again that I like the way you laid this out this year. It was so much easier to read and go through and understand than my first budget last year.
Comparison is night and day.
Yeah. That's good. Like it.
Heard anything more about the AFBA funds?
Yes, they.
Press releases and
They sent an email last week that everything had been, there was 2 communities that did not submit. So they redistributed those 2 communities' funds to the communities that did. So our change will actually receive a very small amount more. They've not released what that final amount is to any of the communities. They were supposed to be sending that, they didn't set an exact date, but in the near future. And then the funds would be released for the first payment, and then the second payment would be equal to that. So as soon as I hear what, I left it in the budget, what we were supposed to get. I think, again, it's 2 communities, it's probably gonna be pretty small,
$25 is 25.
but we'll take it. Yeah. Hopefully it was a large community that was getting some big bucks that didn't submit, and we'll give more than we think.
Can't even fathom not submitting.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Yeah.
what was happening there. And then I do have all the rules. I actually have a project list for you guys. I know that that's something you wanted to talk about. I wanted to get through the budget. Our next meeting, next Monday, is going to be a lengthy one just because of all of our annual things. So I did not want to put it on that same meeting and you guys and myself be ready to go home. So my plan was to bring that to you guys in October, so that it could really have the discussion that it deserves. But I'm ready for that. I got some really good projects from some of the employees and some good things to talk about, I think.
And then just to confirm regarding the requirements with the USDA loan and whatnot, and setting aside the required amount for future projects. That's all taken into consideration with
Yes.
those rates and doing the additional projects that we're talking about now. But you're still setting aside that for the future projects as well, the requirements of that loan.
Yes, so it's in the budget. We are required for the loan to have a contingency reserve fund. So that's in the budget on top of what we will also have a reserve within just our sewer fund itself outside of that. And we'll be moving forward some projects, yes. I'm feeling really good with where we are at with water and sewer. I know that my recommendation is not to raise rates. That is in no way me saying, let's go 10 years and not do anything. We definitely have to watch this, but I am feeling really good with where we're at this year, especially looking back at last year where we were. We've definitely made some significant strides, and we have some pretty good sized projects budgeted this year. I'm excited that we can bring in this other employee and get them some help out there, and definitely doing good things.
don't know if anybody's been out there lately, but I stopped out, and talked to Randy last Thursday, and there's actually paint on the property. So, not a lot, but some.
Yes, and we'll be having some more discussion about that as well. So, that's gonna be a fun one too.
Are there any other questions in adjourn?
The motion.
Second.
We can say to adjourn, call the roll.
Do I need to call roll?
Sounds like you do. No, we're just.
We are.
Did we make a motion?
Is that in the county?
I'm
You said
sorry.
it was 15, so we would be part of the fund, is that like the county license?
I'm not sure.